So this is my first follow-up review to anything that I've previously reviewed before. The reason I'm doing this is because I had quite a few people tell me that the series does get better as you go, and I have to admit, it does. The Hawk does not suck. I will say that. It's still not very good, in my opinion, and I'll explain why, but it definitely does get better, and by the end of the season, I did enjoy it for the most part. I still think that a lot of my criticisms of the pilot are still valid. I really wish that they would have done a better job of giving us the engine of the show, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, but mostly I think that they should have given us a look into Will's character more. Hawk, or Hawk Sr. We'll talk more about Hawk Jr. in a minute as well. In Eastbound and Down, which is really what I was hoping that this was going to be, and it was kind of advertised as maybe it was going to be kind of the next version of that, plus David Gordon Green has worked on both. But in Eastbound and Down, towards the end of the pilot, we learn that Kenny Powers is not quite as confident as he portrays himself to be, as he projects himself to be. He's got some insecurities about being washed up or just not quite the man that he used to be. And the Hawk should really fit into that mold as well, but he doesn't show us any of that. He's delusionally confident that it comes across as obnoxious, especially when he loses a dear friend early in the pilot episode, and he's just so avoidant that it never really seems to bother him even. Although it bothers everybody else, it bothers his son. This man is so close to them that his son considers him a second father, but Will can't even be bothered to really show any vulnerability. And I don't mean to other characters. That's fine if he wants to keep other characters at a distance, but you can't keep us at a distance. The audience needs to be able to connect with him and feel like he's a real person and not a caricature, and the pilot did not do that at all. So that was my biggest criticism of the pilot. That and the fact that there was no engine to the show. There was no driving plot point that we could tell, okay, this is going to take up the majority of the season and therefore carry us from episode to episode to episode. And that did not happen until the end of episode 4, when we learn that Will and his son are going to face each other in a professional golf tournament. That's a really good engine. That should have been dropped towards the end of the pilot. If they would have given us some kind of hint or whatever that they were going to inevitably play each other for millions of dollars or whatever, or the glory of the title, whatever, that would have been interesting enough for me to probably tune into the next episode. But the fact that they gave us literally nothing, that the pilot felt like a standalone episode when you have 9 more after that, that just really rubbed me the wrong way. So again, I think a lot of my criticisms are still valid of the pilot, but it does get better. Episode 2, a little funnier. Episode 3, a little funnier. But then by the end of episode 4, it had hooked me, mostly because of that plot between him and his son. Also about his son, we first kind of connect with him more than we do Will, because Will is such an obnoxious character and because he's a terrible dad in person. So we kind of empathize with the son a lot more. But then as we go on, we realize, oh wait, the son is quite a jerk as well. I was kind of turned off by him, even though I liked him more early on. So that was a bit of a strange twist, bit of a strange character digression, that we saw the son become also a jerk like his dad. And I thought that was interesting. That's not a criticism, but I just thought that that was a little interesting. We don't normally see that happen. But I do think it kind of worked in this situation where Will kind of became more beloved to us and the son kind of turned more heel. And the humor definitely does pick up as we go along. There's a really funny bathroom scene like halfway through the season that was very funny. I won't spoil it. There's also a lot of just funny one-liners, a lot of funny moments. Luke Wilson has some great lines. Chris Parnell was hilarious. Every single word out of that guy's mouth in this whole series was really, really funny, and he's not in the pilot. Luke Wilson's not in the pilot. There was a lot of missed opportunities that they could have capitalized on in the pilot, but they didn't for whatever reason, and that was a shame. Typically, the way that a show goes, especially these days if it's not a very good one, they'll hook you early on, and then there will be a dip in the middle, and then it'll get good again by the end because they want you to come back and watch season 2, right? Well, this show doesn't really follow any of that. It starts really bad, in my opinion, but then it gets better very gradually, and by the end, I did like it. I was fine with the fact that I went back and I watched it all. And shout out to 2 people in particular on YouTube who pretty much convinced me to watch it again. At Cleaning Business Guide, he was the first one to come and say, you should really watch the whole thing because it does get better. And the other one was Gary D119. He said that he worked on the show, so he's a little biased, and he also agreed with me that the pilot was awkward and didn't quite work as well as they were hoping it was going to. But the fact that he worked on the show and was willing to reach out to me and say, you know what, you should probably go back and rewatch it because it does get better. I mean, that convinced me to do so, and I'm glad I did. The Hawk does not suck, like I said previously. It's still not very good, in my opinion. It is worth watching if you like Will Ferrell, if you like this kind of humor. Eventually eventually it will get funny enough to enjoy it enough to where it's worth your time. But at the end of the day, if I'm gonna watch something like this, instead of watching The Hawk over again, I'd probably just rather watch Eastbound and Down over and over and over again. That's an amazing show, one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it's hard to compete with that. It just wasn't as good as I think it could have been, and I was hoping it was gonna be. But I want to know what you guys think. Did I do you justice? Did I make it a little bit better for you? Or do you think it still sucks? Let me know in the comments below. I'll talk to you next time.